You're not defined by your strength, your achievements, or the role everyone needs you to play. Then who are you? If that question landed somewhere in your chest, stay with me. Today we close the series by actually answering it. We've spent this month naming what's underneath the emptiness, achievement that doesn't land, a life that feels borrowed, success that isolates instead of connects. Reconnection doesn't start with a 5-year plan or a total life overhaul. It starts in the small, unwatched choices, the ones not what looks right. What do I want to say, not what keeps the peace? Those tiny neural choices are where the reconnection actually happens, because they're the only places left where you're choosing for you, not performing for anyone. So what did you want before you learned to want what you expected of you? I know for me, I think my greatest disconnect was when my mother died. And I think it was more after we buried her. Because it was a finale. And there was a lot of issues with my family that was going on at the time. I didn't know who these people were. I didn't know why they were as angry as they were. I didn't get anything from my mother's estate. I mean, they took everything, so I got nothing out of it. So I really, truly did not understand what was going on. But the only thing that I knew at that moment in time was that I was over this. I was done. I didn't want to be around these people. I didn't know who they were. I didn't like them. They were mean. They were nasty. They were greedy. And I always wondered if my mother actually had anything, what would it have been like? Because what little she did have, they made sure that 2 or 3 of them got it all. I didn't care. All I know is that I sat in this depth of despair, wondering who I was. Why am I here? I had just finished the Dancing Souls trilogy. It hadn't gone to an editor yet, but it was done. I was still living it. I was still owning everything that was going on. I had been back from Chicago for about 2 years now. So that was, my mother basically decided she didn't want to have anything to do with me. I was estranged from my mother. I think my siblings had a lot to do with it. And I was very alone and isolated at that point in time. So I had no idea what was going on other than I just wondering when I found my light, who am I? What do I like? What makes me happy? I had no answers to any of those questions. It took my mother's death for me to really wake up and understand that I was just caught up in striving, achieving, proving myself to the world, trying to not create waves, trying to be successful. And I'm saying trying because in my own mind, I was never successful, even though I have all these accolades, I have all these awards, I have all this stuff. That wasn't success to me. I don't know what success was at that point, other than I knew I didn't have it. And I think to me, success is being happy, being around people that I love and who love me, being accepted for who I am. Those were things that really started to matter to me because my mother's death showed me a lot about people. And even though they claimed to be spiritual people and they had it together, they really didn't, because the minute that a tragedy entered somebody's life, they were running because they couldn't deal with their own stuff. That's how I looked at it. Because if you really understand yourself, you're going to be there for someone else. So you're not alone and isolated, but people don't know how to handle emotion. It's get over it. Well, you don't get over death of a parent very easily. It's not an easy thing to do. I mean, they brought you into the world. So when they die, there's a whole identity that goes with it. And I've watched this repeatedly with people when their parents died and how all of a sudden they start being like totally different because they're no longer under the thumb. They're not no longer being scrutinized and all of that. And the thing is that this moment didn't happen all at once. This moment was years. The only thing that I remember that I have so much recollection of was a friend saying, "What are you grateful for?" And all I could say at the time was, "I'm in Colorado." And then the next day that the skies were blue. And it went from there. And then getting back into ballroom dancing, because that was the one thing that brought me the most joy, was dancing. Because I was connecting to my body, I was connecting to another human being, I was being creative, I was happy, I was flowing, I was doing something that made me feel good. I didn't have to answer to anyone, I didn't have to tell anyone anything. If they wanted to come to my showcases, they could. If not, that was okay too. And it was something that I was able to actually, over the years, see how much I improved. Because, you know, when I first started dancing, even though I was a dancer, I was not a ballroom dancer. And my nervousness was out there and all of that. And I started wondering, what is it that I want to wear? Because how many times did I look in the closet and go, oh, God, I have nothing to wear. And I had so many freaking clothes in the closet. And I was like, I have nothing to wear. And now I still deal with, well, what do I want to eat? And no, it's not because I'm choosing to make Sal happy. It's just sometimes I don't know what I want to eat. But I am making more of the foods that I want to eat, that make me happy, that make me feel good. Because, you know, a lot of times life gets challenging at times. And it's always about, well, what's going to make me feel good? What's going to make me happy? And that's how I get through. Because, you know, right now I feel kind of melancholy and I'm not exactly sure. I feel, you know, a little bit of frustration. But it's like, oh, it's all okay, because I know that there's a lot of changes that I've done in this year. I mean, it's like, what, we're at the end of August already, and it's like, where has the year gone? And I feel like all I have done this year has really worked on my nervous system and allowing that to heal, that it's almost like, well, who am I now? And so I just constantly reconnect with myself the way I know how to reconnect with myself. I don't beat myself up anymore. If I don't feel like doing something, I don't do it because I don't care. I'm not going to do it. I'm not in the mood, so why bother? And I know that everything will get done in time because I've learned how to do that as well, of just trusting my process instead of pushing and driving and making something happen, because I was notorious. See, I didn't manipulate people. I knew how to manipulate circumstances. But what did that also do? It took me away from trusting. It took me away from, am I creating the life that I want, or am I forcing something that I think I want? Because I remember when I got divorced, I knew everything that was going on in the divorce because Spirit let me see everything, and it was under the promise that I wouldn't do anything to interfere with it. And I remember, as much as my heart was broken, I didn't interfere. Because all I kept thinking is there's got to be something better, because my marriage was a disaster. As much as I loved my husband, he was a green-eyed monster that I could not handle anymore. He was an alcoholic, and there were a lot of things that I couldn't cope with anymore in that marriage. And he had a very violent temper. And when I snapped. It took 2 years to get out of that marriage, and I did not want to leave that marriage on so many levels, because I was married for life, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't stay with them. I didn't want to stay with them. because my heart was already broken and I was not becoming the person that I knew I needed to become. And I think that was another moment of starting to reconnect with myself too, was I didn't know who I was and I knew I was totally disconnected. I was very spiritually aware. I was listening. I had a lot of things that were going on, but my whole thing was always feeling like I'm just missing something. And maybe that's what I feel a little bit right now too, is I'm missing something. And maybe I'm not, maybe it's just the delusion of the ego, because our ego plays a lot of things. The body is changing. This detox is still doing what the detox is doing. And you know, when a friend of mine said it's going to be 2 years, I'm getting to see that, because the more I change and grow and evolve, the more I see that the body is like doing this catch-up thing. And it's like, I don't know what this body is right now. It's doing weird things. And it's like, okay, well, we'll just let it go. And that's what I do. And I'm just trusting a process in a way that I've never trusted a process. And I'm trusting that I'm capable of doing the things that I want and that I need for me and that are good for me. And I noticed that I used to do things a lot when I was younger, and I would see very clearly. I could see very clearly about people. And I was always right. And there's a lot of that unveiling happening again. And instead of beating myself up, I'm making different decisions. I'm making different choices. I'm not being angry. I'm not being pissy. I'm not being whatever I used to do. I'm just walking away and noticing. And it's all okay. Because if you want to be the true person that you are, if you want to be who you see in your mind, you have to make some very tough choices in your life. And I know I've made a lot of tough choices in my life, and I have no regrets. Absolutely none. It may not have been fun walking through it when I went through it, but what I've got on the other side was so worth every bit of what I went through. Because what was I getting rid of? I was getting rid of head trash and negative self-talk and self-loathing. Were those things I wanted to keep? No, I don't. I didn't. So I got rid of them. And don't think that I'm over this, because, you know, paradigms run very strong. And I think there's lifetimes upon lifetimes upon lifetimes of paradigms of what we have, of what we think about ourselves, and unworthiness, and, you know, feeling unlovable, or whatever it is that we go through, because we all have it. Every single one of us have our own stuff that we deal with. And the question is, do you want to face what you're dealing with and have a better life? Or do you want to just stay in the muck and drink and do drugs and watch TV and then just have an unlived life? Because that's the one thing that I remember my whole life has always been. I'm here to experience life, whatever the hell that meant. And I have experienced life. And I've done a lot of things. I still do a lot of things because I'm not dead. I may be getting older, but I am not dead. And there's still a lot of things I want to do. And I still don't feel like I've fully gotten to where I want to be. I'm getting closer all the time, but I don't think I'm there yet. The switch hasn't turned on for me yet. And maybe it never will. Maybe the big grandiose idea that I have in my mind of who I want to be, what my life looks like, maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe it will be. I don't know. But what I do know is that every day I'm grateful. Every day I'm grateful for what I have, that the money is still there. My bills are still getting paid. I have a roof over my head. I have clean water. And I'm grateful for that. And I think gratitude is probably the biggest thing that will always keep moving me into that new direction. Because as long as we stay grateful of where we are, life will only get better. Because it's changing the vibrational frequency of where you are. So if I'm feeling a little melancholy today, so what am I doing? I'm just grateful that I'm here. I'm grateful that I have healthy cats, that I've got a good relationship, that I have money to pay my bills. I'm still grateful. I have clean water. I can brush my teeth. I have food in my refrigerator. Those are big deals. Because I remember a long time ago, that wasn't a big deal because I was unaware of what a lot of the other people don't have this. You know, we have war-torn countries. We have people that are displaced, that have lost their countries. I don't know what that's like. I don't want to know what that's like. But we have a lot of that. So I started realizing that even if I think my life sucks and it's not going the way I want, all I have to do is change my mind. Change my thoughts, change your life. And every time I did that, my life would change. And I remember discovering one time of what made me happy was working on people, helping people, talking to people. Those things mattered to me too. That was another reconnection of that. I really like being around people, and being an esthetician, I loved it because I was with people, I was touching them, I was making a connection. And if whatever was going on in my mind would go away, because I was all about that person and I wanted them to have a good moment. I wanted them to leave my treatment room and have a good moment, and they could go home and enjoy their life, and maybe something, just maybe something changed for them. Because that's all I ever wanted in my life. And when I reconnected to that part of my beingness, which is probably that little girl that my uncle told me, that I just love people and I was always so happy to see people, which I still can't comprehend that yet. But he would say that, but when I look back at what makes me the happiest, it's that. So I think that little girl is working on coming back out. And it was in all these little tiny quiet moments. I didn't have to proof. I didn't have to force a change. When you sit and you be with yourself, and I'm not talking about distractions, I mean being with you, feeling your body, feeling what's going on, seeing what's coming up in your thought processes. You do that, those quiet moments is when your truth comes out. That's why meditation is so good, because it helps you to stop the mind chatter. It helps you to quiet the mind, quiet the body, breathing. It quiets the mind. It gets everything shifted and changed. And when you can go back into those moments and you start seeing small movements, and I know baby steps, I talk about baby steps all the time, but it is one tiny baby step in the direction of your dream will change the trajectory of your life. And I have seen it over and over and over and over again in my life. It's like when you get lost and you make the wrong turn and you're going and you're going and you're going, and you either go and find your way back or you do a U-turn and come back and reroute yourself. It's the same kind of thing. And it's just about trusting where you are at all times. That's why I say observe your life, sit and be quiet, reflect on your life. What did you do yesterday? What was good about yesterday? What wasn't good about yesterday? What can you change about what happened yesterday? Those kind of things. And the minute that you start doing that and trusting yourself in what you want, and you take that unwatched moment and you trust it at one at a time, you start seeing things are shifting and changing for you. Because it's always going to be in the quiet moments. Always. Nothing happens when it's loud, because we can't hear anything when it's loud. It's in that quietness. It's because we live inside our body here. And when we connect with our body, we reconnect with our heart, we reconnect with our soul, with our spirit. That's when you find those moments. And in the beginning, they might not feel so good, but the more you do it, the more you like who you are, and the more you don't care about a whole lot of anything, because your happiness is what's more important. And to me, that is the most priceless and valuable thing that you can do and give to yourself in this lifetime, is just taking that moment to breathe and be with yourself. So what I'd like you to do now is take out a piece of paper, and I want you to write down 3 questions. What did I want before I learned to want what was expected of me? What did I want before I learned to want what was expected of me? What's one small, unwatched choice I can make today that's just for me? What's one small, unwatched choice I can make today that's just for me? Who am I? Underneath everything I do for everyone else. Who am I? Underneath everything I do for everyone else. I don't want you to answer these questions right now. What I'd like you to do is just sit and be with those questions. Allow the answers to come up. And if it takes a couple of days, that's okay. It's you just spending time with you to understand where you got lost and how you want to find your way back. So I'd like you to close your eyes or soften your gaze if you can. I want you to take a deep breath in and exhale all the way out. Place your hand on your heart and bring to mind one small choice you can make today. Unwatched, ungraded, that's just for you. And say quietly to yourself, I am allowed to come home to myself. One honest moment at a time. Take a deep breath in and exhale. And open your eyes when you're ready. This month, we walk through why everything can feel empty, even when your life looks right from the outside. We looked at why achievement stops feeling like enough, why a life built from should can feel borrowed, and why success can make you more alone, not less. And now the truest question underneath all of it is, if I'm not defined by my strength, my achievements, or what I do for everyone else, then who am I? You are still there. Underneath the performing, underneath the proving, underneath everything you've carried, she never left. She's just been waiting for you to come looking. On Friday, we'll sit together and do exactly that. Next month, we're beginning a new series. And if this month stirred something in you, you don't have to sit with it alone. Feel free to come into the I Am the Light Sanctuary, which is school.com/I Am the Light Sanctuary/about. I'm offering a 7-day free trial. Come in, have a conversation. Let's know what's going on. And if you wish to stay, I'd love to have you. And if not, blessings on your way. I'm Kathleen Flanagan, and you don't have to carry this alone.